Welcome to the BS spoiler review. Today we're talking about The Mummy. It's the first movie in the dark universe that Universal's trying to create. If you want to learn more about that, we talked about it a little bit more in our spoiler-free review, and you guys can check that out. I think it was a weird choice to start their universe with The Mummy, seeing that we've already had 3 Mummy films, and they're trying to do like a hard reboot. It's trying to not be related at all. However, throughout the movie, they had references to it, and it seemed almost like a carbon copy the entire time. Tom Cruise's character is almost identical to Brendan Fraser.
He tried really hard to be Brendan Fraser, but you cannot be Brendan Fraser.
It didn't work. They should have just had Brendan Fraser come back for the reboot, because
I would have watched that so much more.
I think it would have been better, because he tried to be funny, but also like a thief and a scoundrel, but he just came across kind of like a jerk the whole time, I thought.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that was poor directing, poor writing, poor acting, or a weird combo of all three.
Pretty much the first half of the film copies everything from The Mummy. They start in the desert. They stumble upon an ancient tomb. They accidentally release the mummy. The mummy comes for them. And even the mummy's story itself was a almost direct copy of the original, where they wanted to be king and then it was taken away, and so then they killed a bunch of people and got sealed away as a mummy.
The only big difference is the fact that they gender swapped it, which was a fun element.
It was, but ultimately, I think it was too similar.
Yeah, I agree. And even some of the, just smaller moments were also similar. So you've got, the face coming out of the sand in London towards the end of the movie. They even have, a full pan-away moment when the chick, Jennifer, is fighting in the library of Dr. Jekyll, and she knocks a book over, and they, super hard pan onto this book, so there's no way you can miss it, and it's the Book of the Dead from the original. So it's just if you're trying not to be like these, I get that it's an Easter egg, but why?
It's not an Easter egg if you're constantly referencing and ripping things off from your earlier movies.
They even tried to copy the straight-up tone of the original movies, which I know they're not technically the originals, the most well-known movies. They just tried to do, the funny and serious element that Brendan Fraser brought to the movies, and they just didn't pull it off well, and the jokes were really flat, and I don't know, it just felt awkward to watch instead of oh, that's funny, but adventurous and exciting. It was just what?
It was really a mess. I mean, the first time you meet the 2 main characters, Tom Cruise and whoever plays Jennifer, the first time they met each other, they just made jokes about how bad they were in bed.
They even tried to make her be a little more progressive with her whole, oh, well, he's trying to embarrass me about sleeping with him, but I'm not embarrassed. And I get what they were trying to do with that, but the fact that they made her a damsel in distress every 5 minutes in this movie after that kind of destroyed that aspect of her character for me, personally.
And throughout the movie, her character is probably the flattest character in the film.
She doesn't emote with her face. She just sits there and stares at the camera for 5 minutes.
This is her face the entire movie.
And she just...
1,000 dead bodies running at you to kill you? Oh, you're drowning underwater?
It was pretty painful to watch.
It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
About halfway through the film is when it started getting more interesting. They get picked up by Dr. Jekyll's organization that he runs, and you start learning a lot more about the universe and what this organization does, and you find out that they've been fighting evil for a really long time. And so when you get there, there's all these Easter eggs of, I think, future movies. There's the hand from the Creature of the Black Lagoon. There's a vampire skull and a lot of little things like that. Probably a lot of stuff we missed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that entire scene when we're first walking into Dr. Jekyll's lair and he's got all the embalmed jars of things, there's probably a million things you could look for through there.
And that's where the movie starts to set itself apart from the first one, because you learn all about how they're trying to turn Tom Cruise into the god of death via a ritual, and that's why the mummy is after him. And the organization actually wants to do this to him, to kill the god of death and to study it.
Yeah, because until you put the god of death into a human body, I got the sense that you can't kill him. That's the whole point of making him a living god, is because you can kill something that's living, but you can't really kill a god. If you watched our spoiler-free review, I mentioned that I wasn't overly excited about the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character. I didn't know if Russell Crowe would be a good casting choice for that, and I also just didn't know how they would portray him, because I think in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, that character is kind of hokey and a little too cartoonish. But I actually really liked how they portrayed him in the short bit that we got to see the Mr. Hyde side in this movie, which I also wasn't expecting. I didn't think that they would switch to Mr. Hyde in this movie at all, so I was really shocked about that. But I kind of liked what they did with the character. I liked that it was a bit more subtle. It was more of just a personality change instead of a huge physical change. So I'm definitely intrigued to see what they do with his character in this universe. Another way that I definitely think this movie stood apart from, you know, the trilogy we all know of The Mummy is the fact that they turned Tom Cruise basically into a monster, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't think he was going to be part of the monsters of this universe, and I kind of liked it. It was probably like the best plot point in the movie, I would say, and also the most original.
I do think it was the most interesting idea they had, and I think that was the part that got me most interested in a potential like sequel, because before that I was like, oh, it's kind of generic, and then I was like, oh, well, this is actually kind of an interesting twist.
While I do like the twist, I am a little confused about the character as well, because like, so he's the god of death in Tom Cruise's body, because I guess I assumed it would be like Amunet, where she's basically possessed by like a god, is the sense that I got from the storyline. So I assumed Tom Cruise would be the same way. So I'm a little confused about how he still has like his senses about him and he can control it, because like, what makes him so special? I don't get it.
I assumed that it would be more like a possession, almost like in like Supernatural, when someone gets their body taken over, they have no control over it. And
they
I was
can
expecting
fight
that.
for it, but they don't get to like pick and choose when they can use the powers.
And then he was the god of death, it seemed like, for like 10 seconds, and then he just like looked over at the dead girl and he was like, oh, I'm Tom Cruise again. And then he never went back. It wasn't like a struggle back and forth for control.
No.
He was just like, oh, well, now I'm in control and I still get all of the bonus powers. It was like, oh.
Yeah, and I definitely think they should have explained that a little bit more, because I have a feeling they won't in future movies, because future movies will be about the other monsters. Why would you take time away from them and their explanation and backstory to further explain one we've already seen? So I have issues with that.
Yeah, I don't think it was very well explained, and it was kind of rushed. Or they should have at least portrayed it a little more clearly.
Yeah, I agree. But that being said, I am excited to see what they do with these characters in this universe. That little bit of a plot twist gives me hopes that we will see some originality, even though a lot of these monsters that are going to be in this dark universe are things that we've seen played out, you know, 2, 3, 4 times in some cases on screen, and I know some of us are a little tired of it. So I'm hoping that they come up with some fresh material.
I definitely think that they played it way too safe with this movie, and I'm hoping that if this makes enough money that they actually are willing to take some risks on the next one, because it felt like halfway through the movie you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I feel like I should just go watch The Mummy, and then it started to get a little better, and it gives me hope for the future.
Well, what's also interesting, I don't know how it's going to do box office wise. I mean, I think tomorrow, we're filming this on Sunday, so Monday we should be able to see first weekend box office numbers. But at our theater, we were at a pretty big mall in the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area, and the mall we were at had no promotion for it. Like, we're trying to get like a good picture with like a cutout or a poster or something like that, and all we could find was this little poster like this far up on the wall, so we could barely even get our heads in the picture with it. And it was just like this really generic poster that didn't even have any of the main characters on screen. It was just like the sarcophagus of the mummy, and I don't know, there was just like really little promotion for it, which surprised me, because I would consider this a blockbuster film. Like, it was definitely advertised that way, at least in, you know, online promotion. So I was just confused as to why a major theater wouldn't have it.
For how much promotional material they had and how much advertising, it felt like a pretty quiet release, at least at the theater.
Definitely. So we'll see what happens going forward, because I think their intention is to still continue with a new movie no matter how this one did. But we'll see. There's not a whole lot of information about the Dark Universe out yet. Like, the fact that some of these extra characters got added to the lineup, like Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Creature of the Black Lagoon, I hadn't even heard about until I started looking up the specific movies in this universe this morning. So that has been really quiet, which I'm surprised by. You'd think they'd be building a lot of hype around it. Overall, I don't think we were very impressed by this movie.
Nope.
It wasn't fantastic, but by the end it caught our intrigue enough to where we're definitely going to go see whatever next one comes out, which I believe is Bride of Frankenstein. Who knows? I think it's one worth watching if you're interested in what they're going to do with this dark universe. Maybe rent it when it comes out if you're not really caring about seeing it right now. I don't know if it's worth paying theater money.
I don't think so.
Especially with how expensive movies are nowadays. I just don't think it's a worth it movie. There are plenty of other better movies to go see. Go watch Wonder Woman instead. If you like this spoiler-filled video and you want to see more videos like it, we have a whole playlist listed here with all of our spoiler reviews, and you can also click up here for one of our other recent videos we've been doing. If you like the content we've been putting out, please subscribe. We would love to chat with you guys in the comments or on our social media. Everything will be linked in our description, and we'll definitely see you in our next video.
Bye.
Bye.